How's it going, sports fans? So as a guy who primarily watched basketball, I started thinking recently, what are some of the craziest baseball stats? And I started really looking into pitching. Again, I don't know much about baseball, but I started looking into pitching, and the name Sandy Koufax came up. And I thought I'd just read some information about him here just because I thought it was really impressive. Remember, I'm not a big baseball guy. I'd love for you in the comment section below to help me out with some of this information. Again, I'm not a baseball guy, but I've been falling in love with the technicalities of baseball. To me, as someone who played basketball, I think skill-wise, baseball is a lot harder. Here's why. In basketball, for example, and I'm not talking about professional level, you don't have to be that skilled. For example, if I'm 6'10" and I have a 45 inch vert, if I'm playing with a really good point guard who can get me lobs, I can get put back dunks, my job is to get rebounds. If I have fast reflexes and I can block shots, I can probably maybe if I don't make the NBA, I could still play at a very high level. Okay? But with baseball, what I realized, I played one day with some friends, was how skilled you have to be in baseball. Me being 6'10" and being able to jump 40 inches does not help me in baseball because I have to have those technical skills. I have to have good hand-eye coordination. I have to know how to throw. It's just so much more skill-based. It's not as much athleticism as, say, basketball is, whereas if I'm big and athletic and I can run, I can probably make a career out of it. Because in baseball, me being able to jump 40 inches doesn't necessarily help me if I don't have the skills or the hand-eye coordination. So to me, I would say baseball is a much more skilled sport than basketball. I'm not saying basketball players aren't skilled, but I'm saying is I can get away with athleticism in basketball, whereas with baseball, I feel like it would be a lot harder to do that. And that's my opinion. I could be wrong. Please let me know what you think. But when it comes to baseball and some of the best players, again, I had looked up some information about some of the greats. So I'll read some info because, again, I don't know as much about baseball as I do other sports. But Sandy Koufax, it says, was one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball history. His career only lasted 12 years. He retired by the age of 30. But by age 36, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, the youngest ever. So by 36, where most guys are still playing, he was already inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's how good he was. I guess severe arthritis just ruined his pitching arm. In addition to that, from what I was reading online, back then, pitchers would play a lot more. There wasn't this a day on, day off rest. They would go all the innings, all the time, many times. And this is what led to him retiring at 30 years old. But here's what's interesting. He won 3 Cy Young Awards. One in 1963, one in 1965, and one in 1966. And it says here, and this is according to the Baseball Hall of Fame, this is a part of the article that ChatGPT gave me. It says, at that time, only one Cy Young Award was given for all MLB, making the achievement even more impressive. Okay? In 1963, he was the National League MVP. He had 4 no-hitters, including 1 perfect game in 1965, 2 World Series MVP awards, and 3 pitching triple crowns. He led the league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. And he has 5 consecutive ERA titles, 7 All-Star selections. Here's what's interesting. So even though, compared to other guys like Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan, who played, many more years, there are some who believe that Koufax's peak was better than almost anybody, if not the best. I'll read this here. From 1963 to 1966, he had a 97-27 record. 97-27. He had over 1,200 strikeouts, 3 Cy Young Awards, and 1 MVP. So, again, this was some of the information I read about him. I would love to know, obviously, this is before my time, we're talking in the 60s, but I would love to know what you think about him compared to guys who I might know a little bit about, like Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, guys of this caliber. I'd like to know what you think about Sandy Koufax. And if you're old enough to have seen him, I would love to hear in the comment section below what you have to say about him. But again, I'm new to the baseball world. I'm getting into it. Like I said, I really appreciate how skilled it is. I'd love to hear from you in the YouTube world about what you think about Sandy Koufax, and where do you place him in the all-time of greats, and do you think his career would have been that much better if he was able to get another, 8 or 9 years out of his career? But I'd love to know what you have to say about him in the comment section below. Thank you so much.